camera's aimed over here, so don't say those words on my live stream, please. Okay, well, I guess I should add my camera into here. Let's add video. And I guess we don't want to see all that. The window, it's the window. And then I'll put this down here and shrink it. Okay. The computer can only understand machine code. A compiler can translate the C++ program that we write into machine code. Calling the compiler by using the terminal, which is the black panel to the right of the code editor that contains a $sign. To compile a file, you need to type G++ followed by the file name. Okay. I don't know if I'll be using G++, but whatever. Okay. A out. Oh, I see. Okay. So in the shell or whatever there, so it's bash. So in the shell there, dot slash is the like folder you're in, or whether it's not called a folder, and the directory that you're in. And then a.out is the file name, so that's what that is. Executable file, blah, 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 blah. Okay, and then we get the output. Should be a new. Okay. Let's go. Sometimes when we compile, we want to give the output executable file a specific name. To do so, the compile command is slightly different. We still need to write G++ and the file name in the terminal. After that, there should be a -o and then the name that you want to give the execute. Okay. Oh, interesting. Okay, so that worked. And then let's go here. Run that. Okay, cool. So I'm trying to make sure that I type everything out by hand. I learned a little bit of Python before, and I've taken a class in like Java, and I've taken a class or a few classes where we used R. We didn't really take a class on R. So this isn't my first attempt at learning to program, but I found that typing this stuff out is actually better for retaining it in your memory, like your brain memory, not the computer memory. Okay, Programming is often highly collaborative. In addition, our own code can quickly become difficult to understand when we return to it. Sometimes only a few hours later. They're going to talk about comments. For these reasons, it's often useful to leave notes in our code for ourselves or other developers. As we write a C++ program, we can write comments in the code that the compiler will ignore as our program runs. These comments exist just for human readers. Comments can explain what the code is doing, leave instructions for developers using the code, or add any other useful annotations. There are two types of code comments in C++. A single line comment will comment out a single line and is denoted with 2 forward slashes preceding it. Okay. So you could put it as a standalone line, which is the first example. They have this comment here and then the print line, or you can put it at the end of a line. A multi-line comment will comment out multiple lines and is denoted with /* and // to close it. Okay, yeah, and I've used these in other languages to block out a bunch of code that I just didn't want to run for whatever reason, and if I was testing something and trying to figure out what's breaking my program. Though I think Python doesn't have that. Let's practice adding a comment. Add a new line above, include IOStream, write a single line comment that says Harry Potter. So I did all that because this line is grayed out, which I couldn't remember if it started off that way, and I didn't want that to be included in the comment because the comment color is gray. So I was like, did I mess it up? Okay, so I just Control-Enter to run that, or to like compile it and then run it, or I guess I just compiled it. I don't know. And it gave me the check mark, so I did it. Compile and execute spell.cp using the terminal. Okay. Okay, I don't remember what compile and execute is. Okay, so they just mean compile then execute. Compiled. Let's do it again. Okay, so I just needed to execute it. Expecto Patronum. Congratulations! In this lesson you have learned compilation and execution using the terminal. I did it. Okay. If you're still feeling iffy about using the terminal, take a look at the learn the command line lesson. I don't feel iffy about this. I use the terminal a lot because I have Linux as my operating system. Not that I'm some kind of a wizard with it, but I use it often, so I know how to like navigate around the file, the directories and whatnot. Let's keep going. Go from theory to real world with pro projects. Yeah, I think that this is possibly something I will pay for eventually, but as of now, I don't want to do this. Program a React app. I don't care about React at the moment. Query Hacker News data using SQL to discover trends. Oh, that's kind of cool. Maybe I would do that. I did do a little bit of PostgreSQL to help a friend out with a work project. So that would be good to actually do a real project with that, because I'm going to need to know how to interact with the databases a little better to work on the project that I'm learning for. Classify x-rays with machine learning. Okay, use TensorFlow. None of this is really relevant to what I'm doing right now, so I'm going to skip all that. I don't care about the mobile app. Okay, run your Hello World C++ program locally using the terminal, command prompt, or Visual Studio. Okay, oh, goodness. I've actually already done this. I'm not on Windows, so this doesn't really... Excuse me. My code's That's funny. Okay. Yeah, so I actually have already done this. I did this after the first hello. Set a weekly target. How many days do you want to learn each week? I'm going 7. Because I really want to learn this for a project I'm working on. I don't want to pay for this yet, although I might. Variables. We can't do anything without variables. Okay. Let me turn up my headphone volume here. Oh no, I guess there's nobody to audio check. Oh, I should look and see if there's anything going on in the chat. Nobody is watching. Nobody has watched. I'm not surprised. Whenever I do math streams, I have to like go on Reddit and try to answer people's math questions to get them to come in. Okay. The Hello World program simply writes to the screen. It does not read anything, calculate anything, or allow for user input. That's no fun. Real programs tend to produce results based on some input that the user of the program gives, rather than just outputting the same thing every time. To read something from the keyboard, we first need somewhere in the computer's memory to store data. That is where variables come in. A variable is simply a name that represents a particular piece of your computer's memory that has been set aside for you to store, retrieve, and use data. In this lesson, we will learn about some of the basic data types. Okay, int, integer, double, floating point numbers, okay, char, or some, I've heard this pronounced char before, but char, individual characters, string, a sequence of characters, bool, true or false is a Boolean value. So we know this from math. We know this from math. Actually, if you have ever taken discrete math, these are both in here. This is a double is like means like double the memory of a float. So I'm not sure why they're calling this floating point. Maybe it's also floating point. Okay, so every variable has a type, which represents the kind of information you can store inside of it. It tells your compiler how much memory to set aside for the variable, and it defines what you can do with the variable. Click Next to continue. Okay, that's easy. Okay. Declare a variable. So every variable in C++ must be declared before it can be used. Suppose we are building a game and we want to keep track of a player's score that goes from 0 to 10. We need a variable, an int probably. Before we can use a variable, we must declare or create it. To declare a variable, we need to provide two things: a type for the variable, a name for the variable. So to declare an integer variable called score, we need to write int score semicolon. Okay. The int is the type of the variable, the score is the name, the semicolon is how we end a statement. Okay. In C++, variable names consist only of upper/lowercase letters, digits, and or underscores. Okay. C++ is known as a strongly typed language. If you try to give an integer value, a decimal number, you're going to get unexpected results, warnings, or errors. Good. We want that. Inside the variable.cpp file, declare an int variable named year. Okay. Okay, type the following commands in the terminal and press enter. Okay. Sorry if the audio is trash. I need to fix my mic stand. Okay. Passed. Rocket surgery. Now we have to initialize the variable. So we declared it, now we have to initialize it. After we declare a variable, we can give it a value. Suppose that we have declared an int variable called score. We did int year. To set it to 0, we can simply write score equals 0. The score is the name of the variable. The equals indicates assignment. Okay. The 0 is the value we want to store inside the variable. Okay, makes great sense. In C++, a single equal sign does not really mean equal, it means assign. In the code above, we are assigning the score variable a value of 0. Okay. So we're going to give the year variable a value of 2019. Type the following commands in the terminal, press OK. Key. Combining step 1. Okay, so they're gonna, yeah, that's exactly what I imagined. Okay. We can both declare and assign a value to a variable in a single initialization statement. Suppose we have these two lines, int score and score equals 0. We can actually combine these two lines into a single line of code, int score equals 0. This means we're declaring an integer called score and setting it equal to 0. Okay, we only need to declare a variable one time, and it is highly suggested to initialize a variable before using it later. That's really interesting. I wonder why. I've heard that in other languages too. In your program, declare and initialize an int variable named year and initialize its value. Okay. Oh, so they changed the code. I didn't even notice that. Really bothers me that you have to return two commands here before you get this check mark, and it gives you a red one after putting the first one. I really don't like that. I wish it didn't do that. Makes me feel like I made a mistake. There's a way that you can put two commands on one line though in shell, so maybe I'll try that next time. Okay. Computers are incredible at doing calculations. Now that we have declared variables, let's use them with arithmetic operators to calculate things. Here are some arithmetic operators: addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, modulo division. Okay. This is like clock arithmetic. This is very useful. Okay. So anytime you see code like this, you should trace it. Like, you should read it line by line and try to understand what it does. Order of operations can be specified using parentheses. For example, the use of parentheses in score equals 5 times quantity of 4 plus 3 sets score equal to 5 times 7 rather than 20 plus 3. So it works the same way as math. Okay, we've declared an initialized score. Let's change its value by giving it a value of 1234 multiplied by 99. Okay. But how would we know what the value is? Okay, we can print it. You can output the value by simply adding this code underneath. Notice how when we want to output a variable, we don't add double quotes around its name. Yeah, because that would make it a string. Compile to output file a.out and then execute program using the term. Okay, I'm going to try and do this all in one. I think I remember the character to do 2 commands. Okay, I'm going to Google this. Oh, duh. I was close. I should have done the double. I think they call that a pipe operator, but and the vertical bar I see is like such that for math. Only when the first command failed to run the. Okay, that's like if the first one fails, run the second one. Double and is if the first one runs, then run the second, and semicolon is what we want, I guess. Or no, I probably only want, I want the double and here. So okay. Fire. Love it. Let's go. Alright, I'm gonna sit down because my back is aching. I'm getting old real fast. OBS. Hopefully somebody will come. Hopefully YouTube will suggest someone my awesome stream. And they'll come and watch me learn how to code. Now that we have outputted a variable and have also outputted things using multiple couts, let's take a closer look at cout again. If we have the code below, int age equals 28, standard cout, hello, I am age, years old. Okay, so they didn't return a line there, so this should be on one page. We've got a space, they've got a space. Or one page, one line, I meant to say. Okay, that's how I interpreted it. Notice how we use quotes around the characters, but not an age, because it's a variable. We use quotes when we want a literal string, and we don't use quotes when we refer to the value of something with a name, like a variable. So now, is it possible to write the cout statements within a single line? Okay. That's cool. This is called chaining. Interesting. Inside game.cpp, we have declared and initialized an int variable called score. Yes, you have. Now output the following phrase using chaining. Output the following using chaining. Player score, where score should be the value of the variable score. Okay. Make sure to add a new line after. Let's see. Fingers crossed. I did it! Yay! Compile and execute. Let's go G. Alright, cool. Like we mentioned in the introduction, another way to assign a value to a variable is through user input. A lot of times we want the user of the program to enter the information for the program. We have cout for output, and there's something called cin that's used for input. Okay, cout, enter your password, cin password. Okay. The name cin refers to the standard input stream pronounced cin for character input, the second operand of the dat or the whatever operator get from. Oh, interesting. Specifies where the input goes. Oh, that's very cool. And I'm sure I'm going to mess up that syntax. This is going to be the thing that I mess up like often because it's backwards from that. Okay, let's output the following using chaining. Fingers crossed. What have I done? Okay, got it. Compile and execute your program using the terminal. Cool. I'm getting tired, so no, let me try and do 30 more minutes. Let's do an hour. Challenge temperature. Now that we've learned about the basics of variables in cin, let's write a program. The mad scientist Kelvin has mastered predicting the weather in his mountainside meteorology lab. Recently, Kelvin began publishing his weather forecasts on his website. However, there's a problem. All of his forecasts describe the temperature in Fahrenheit degrees. Let's convert a temperature from Fahrenheit to Celsius. Okay. First, Google the current temperature of New York in Fahrenheit. Declare a double variable named temp f and initial it with the temperature. Okay. I don't care what the temperature is, so I'm going to say it's 80. And we're not going to initialize temp C, I guess. Let's initialize it. I don't know if this will throw, if it's not going to give me like the points from CodeCademy, but it said it's a good idea to initialize, so why not? I wonder if you can, if this is a reserved word here. Maybe not. Okay, let's try. Ah, nice. Okay, calculate the temperature in Celsius. So temp C equals temp F minus 32 divided by 1.8. Nice. Display results. I'll put exactly this. Okay, so C out. The temp is. My dog's going crazy. Sorry about that. My girlfriend's going crazier. What are we doing? Temp C degrees Celsius. If anybody gets the Kelvin joke, you know, feel free to laugh because that's funny too. Let's go boom. Oh. Oh. I just dropped my phone off the desk, but thankfully it was plugged in and the cord didn't unplug. Okay, so apparently null is not a value I can use. Let's give it a 0. All right. 30. Okay, it's been 4 minutes since I said I would do 30 more minutes. All right, let's go back to the temperature CPP that we wrote. This time, instead of giving temp F a value of the current temperature in New York, let's ask the user what the temperature is. Ah, okay. So tell the user, enter the temperature. Okay. Okay, right now all I'm trying to do is just break this program by entering some crazy values. But this is, 0. No, what is that? It's very cold. I don't think I'm gonna make it. I made it to the end of the lesson. High five. Variable represents a particular piece of your computer's memory that has been set aside for you to use to store, retrieve, and manipulate data. the basic data types, integer, floating point numbers, so int, double, char, string, bool. Single equal sign indicates assignment, not equality in the mathematical sense. Cin is how to receive input, and I gotta remember the greater than, the double greater than symbol there, because I'm gonna forget that. Okay, optional. Use the open space in the review CPP to practice what you learned about variables. Here are some ideas. Create a program that takes in the weight of an item and then calculates how much that item would weigh on Mars. Oh my god. Okay. Let's go double Mars multiplier. So I'm going to initialize this. I don't know what this is, and I'm not going to look it up, but it can be changed later. Let's go double weight Earth equals 0, double weight Mars equals 0. User input user I don't know the conversion rate in kilometers, but I can figure it out. So it's going to be it's going to come in miles. There's 5,280 feet in a mile. So now it's in feet. Now it's in inches. No, this is wrong. Okay, so now we're in inches. I don't need these. And then now it's in centimeters. So 1 meter is 100 centimeters. And then so now it's in meters. Now it's in kilometers. Okay, that's right. Yeah. Nice. So it didn't like that I had integers in there. I think that was the problem. So I guess it's very strongly typed. Oh, I had a viewer. They came and went. Bummer. Okay, well, thanks for viewing, viewer. I wish I could tell who it was. How long have I been on here? Average view duration, 24 seconds. Oh, it doesn't tell me how long I've been in here anymore because somebody came in. I guess oh, 46 minutes. Is that long enough? This person was in for 24 seconds. Oh, that's so good. Okay. 14 minutes. I can do 14 more minutes. This thing that people do here, where they like de-emphasize the option to not spend money, that really grinds my gears. And I totally understand that you have to do that to make money, but these people are making money. They don't need to do this. Oh, Boolean, I bet. Yep. Every program we've seen so far has only had one possible path of execution. They all execute line by line from top to bottom, and every time you run one of those programs, it gives you the same exact result. But it's the 21st century, and we like options. In this lesson, we will explore how programs make decisions by evaluating conditions and introduce logic into our code. The Vulcans would be proud. We'll be covering the following concepts: if, else if, and else statements, switch statements, relational operators, and logical operators. So, if you've all you see what they did there? That's very, very fun. If you've already learned these concepts in another language, go to the next lesson. Else, prepare yourself and let's get started. Well, I have learned these, but I'm gonna stay with it because I don't know the syntax. But it looks very similar to Java. Okay. Okay. An if statement is used to test an expression for truth and execute some code based on it. Here's a sample of a simple form of the if statement. If condition, then there's a code block, some code. Okay. If the condition is true, then the statements within are executed. Otherwise, the statements are skipped and the program continues on. If flip is equal to 1, print heads. Oh, okay. The if keyword is followed by a set of parentheses. Inside the parentheses, a condition is provided that evaluates to true or false. If the condition evaluates to true, the code inside the curly braces executes. If the condition evaluates to false, the code won't execute. So in the code above, if flip is equal to 1, the program outputs heads. If it does not, then nothing. This should be is not. Then nothing happens and the program continues. Inside grade.cpp, write an if statement where if grade is greater than 60, it's true output pass. Okay. So this is my first error on here. The terminal over here is where your errors occur, which is great because it tells you on line 7. This is line 7. And then it says specifically, oh, wow, that's great. So it tells grad was not declared. So I was like, grad, and then I looked and I was like, oh, okay. Then it says note suggested alternative grade. So it knew that there's a variable called grade, and it was like, oh, you probably meant this, because of that variable is initialized up here. Expected semicolon before string constant. Ah. Okay, so I had 2 errors in there. I'm gonna do it on time. 9 more minutes. Hopefully we can get that average view duration up if anybody comes in. When writing conditional statements, sometimes we need to use different types of operators to compare values. Oh, I'm not playing Dominion Online. That's something there. I'm not doing that. Why did it do that? It said practicing C++ on CodeCademy. Come watch me fail forward while learning to code in C++. I'm a total noob, and you can too. Ask me about my exciting project in the chat. Oh, we changed that thumbnail. My girlfriend's always mad at me about the thumbnail. She's right. I'm just lazy. Okay, I put a slightly less bad thumbnail. It's not made for kids. Those. Let's go. Spooky C++. Programming. New developer. CodeCademy. Learn to code. Tech jobs for non-programmers. New to tech. STEM. Okay, yeah, that's a bunch of stuff. String language. I guess we're speaking English here. United States English. This content has never aired on television, and it likely never will, unless someone's having a real laugh at me. And they just want to post me on television and be like, look at this guy, he doesn't know how to code. What am I doing? I thought I already picked this. English. Recording date. Today. Stream location. Yama's house. I'm just going to put United States. I feel like that's specific enough. I'm going to put this in the Creative Commons. Because why not? Yeah, we're going to be... I'm putting strict... I'm implementing strictness. We don't want any potentially risque comments in here. It's not for children, but you know, I want the children to also be welcome if they show up. All right, I did all that. My girlfriend's gonna be so proud of me for changing the thumbnail. Okay, what are we doing? Sorry, these are just kind of tedious. Not difficult to understand. We can also add an else clause to an if statement to provide code that will only be executed if the condition is false. Here's a form of an if statement that includes an else clause. If something, do something else, do something else. Okay. If condition is true, statement 1 is executed, then the program skips statement 2. It executes any code statements following the if-else clause. If condition is false, statement 1 is skipped, statement 2 is executed. After statement 2 completes, the program executes any code statements following the if-else clause. Okay. So if the coin is equal to 1, print heads, else print tails. Okay, so in the code above, if coin is equal to 1, the program outputs heads. If it does not, see, this is bad grammar, then it outputs tails. It's either or, only one of them will execute. Add an else statement that outputs fail. Okay, so this is, we're going to leave that. Standard. Okay, I'm going to go 2 more minutes. Let's see if I can get this on done. So what happens if you want more than 2 possible? Oh, okay, else if, else if. Okay, so we can put a bunch of them. But this is probably what we'll want to use case for. The else if statement always comes after the if statement and before the else statement. The else if statement also takes a condition, and you can have more than one of them. Here's an example of 3. So if grade equals 9, freshman, else if grade equals 10, sophomore, else if grade equals 11, junior, else if grade equals 12, senior, else super senior. Okay. In chemistry, pH is a scale used to specify the acidity or basicity of an aqueous solution. Write an if else statement that if pH is greater than 7, output basic. If it's less than 7, output acidic. If neither, output neutral. Okay, so that should be all of it. So pH is declared. So if pH is greater than 7, standard Cout basic else if pH is less than 7, and Cout acidic. And else, we don't need that. Standard Cout. Oh, I made a mistake. Neutral. Cool. All right. Sweet. I've done it. I did an hour. Okay, here's the switch statement, which is much more natural. They used for the same example they just did. I think that I'm done for the night. Average view duration. Somebody came in here for like 0 seconds and just went next. Bummer. Okay. All right. Well, it was nice to see you all for several seconds. Good night. And I'll return with more of this soon if anyone sees this later.